So welcome everybody. This is a little bit different for me, so bear with me. I just want to tell you guys all thank you. I mean, this past year has been crazy and insane, really. Hopefully we're kind of past all of the major issues. We've done a lot in our office, and I know you guys have done a lot in your offices to kind of alleviate some of the issues that we've had and to help some of these students. Brandon's got some stuff that we've just recently got updated on MyCE. So he's got a whole bunch of updates and some news on what we're working on, what updates we'll be making in the future. I'm going to be going over test scores, particularly AP test scores. We've had a lot of issues with those, so I'll be going over those. We're also going to maybe talk a little bit about some of the things that we've been doing in our office that is in regards to the process improvement for registration and admissions for students, and some of the things that we've been doing in there. I'm trying to remember what else. Oh, and the handbook that I was supposed to drop off with your guys' traits and didn't, so we'll be mailing those out. So I got the handbooks done. I'll be sending out physical copies. I sent out electronic copies a few months ago, so if you didn't get those, or if you need me to send it again, just email me. And then the parent permission forms. We've had a lot of questions about parent permission forms, and I think a lot of people are still a little bit confused about those. So those are some of the things that we're going to be going over. I gave us a little bit extra time for the beginning because I knew it was going to take maybe a minute for everybody to get here. So trying to think, Brandon, do you want to kind of fill them in on MyCE? I'll just turn the time over to him for a minute.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And again, let me just echo what Becky said. Thank you, for all of your patience, your support as we've kind of moved through this crazy year, especially with technological issues. We've had a lot of tech problems, and I appreciate your patience and your adaptability and working with us to try to find creative ways to sort of work through that. Hopefully, as we move into the next year, things will be significantly smoother. I have no idea what's going to come up, but from what we've been working on, we're hopeful that the tech problems, at least with MyCE, are done. One of the things that was interesting, as we were looking at process improvement and talking to a lot of you all, that some of the biggest concerns out there that you all had, and that the frustrations of students, are related to technical things. It's related to things like this what is it, 700-digit password that has to have an uppercase, lowercase number, special character, all that kind of stuff. Major problem. We've had issues with the admission update process, and that, just to kind of go off on a tangent here, we have been working with IT, and they're in the process right now of building a sort of a process in place in our IT systems that will basically roll over students. So if they applied for admissions say they said that their first semester was going to be fall semester, but they don't take a class until spring, you all know that they end up getting an admissions update. So IT is working on rolling that over so that students who applied in fall, if it comes around that spring is the first semester they've taken a class, it'll just automatically move them over there, so you won't have that update hold anymore. We're hoping to have that by spring, but unfortunately it didn't happen because our IT person ended up in the hospital or something like that. But he's back working on it, and hopefully in the next month or so it'll be done. So it's getting really close to being done. But let me jump back to MyCE. So just so that you all kind of understand the setup of MyCE and where some of the technical issues are and what we're doing, I'm going to give you a little background. So the MyCE system is developed by a company called Canusha, and Canusha basically designs the software, but then the software is installed on a server computer here at Salt Lake Community College that's managed by our IT. whenever we have a request or need an update to MyCE, the developer is usually like that in getting those turnarounds. Many of you have like reached out to me and said, hey, you know, it'd be really nice if we had this feature. Is there any way we could maybe get that added? And I'll email Avi, and a lot of times within a week or 2 weeks, you'll have an update that will implement that, that feature that you've requested. Or if you notice a bug, that gets fixed pretty quickly. When it comes to the IT side and the server issues, that's where sometimes the turnaround time can be significantly longer. And what's happened over this last year is the server that this MyCE software is installed on is a 2012 server. So it's like 8 years old and it's hit the end of its useful life. And so we sort of had this decision to make of do we have IT update a new server and do that, or do we move to a cloud-based system through Amazon? And so we decided that that it would be better for everybody if we move to a cloud-based system for this reason, because whenever our developer wants to make an update now, and this happened about a year or two ago, our IT requires that they be on the phone with him when he's making the update. And in the past, he would maybe work on those in the evening, which is when our IT wasn't there. So our turnaround time went way down on requests and updates and bug features because he needed to connect with our IT. So moving to an Amazon server, that'll allow us to make updates when we run into problems, or if you all identify a new feature that you would love to have, whether it's a new report, an additional field on something or whatever. So that'll be a lot quicker once we migrate to the Amazon server. So right now, beginning about November-ish, they began the migration process. And I don't understand it all, but it's going to take, they said it'll take until about June to finish all the steps that need to be done. So that's why it was horrible timing, but at the same time, IT said, your server is done. Like, we've pushed it as long as we can. So, you know, it's like, you really don't have a choice. So we're like, of all the times when we could have problems, like do it in a COVID year, right after a rough fall semester, and now we're in the middle of a migration. But where we're at now, so the database has been migrated to Amazon, but the software itself, they're still working on getting that migration done. So since the database is now transitioned, whenever they were doing that, they ran into a lot of issues where students were disappearing, and there were problems with the data coming in. That has now been resolved. We submitted a big list of bugs and problems and features just last week, and yesterday, our developer uploaded all of those changes. So at this point, barring the fact that the system may be operating slow because it's still sort of like clinging to life on that 2012 server, most of the student data should be coming in, the reports should be working, and you know, everything should be a lot more functional at this point. But if not, so I'd invite all of you to maybe take some time, go in, test some of the things that you use. And if you're still running into problems, you can email me directly, because then I send those, I compile them and then send them off to the developer. But at this point, hopefully we're on the uphill, and by June, we should have a pretty darn solid system with some easy to make updates, since he won't have to work through our IT anymore. So I think that's the latest on MyCE. I'll go through and I'm going to double check all of the updates that I sent into him that he just uploaded to make sure those were done. And once that's done, I'll compile a list of all the things that the changes that we've requested, the updates we've made, and send those out to you all, so you can be aware of what new features are there, what bugs have been fixed, and all that sort of stuff. But in the meantime, feel free to check. If you do run into any problems, send those to me, and I will make sure that they get resolved. So I think that's it on MyCE. Becky, was there anything else that you wanted me to tell them about with regards to MyCE?
So yesterday, I know we had a lot of people that were trying to do teacher applications, and they were having problems with that. So I'm hoping that was included in the updates, and it's working now. If anybody's still having issues, please let us know.
Okay, and the issue, I think that because I looked into it, you sent me that, and the problem was that you would click on the submit button and it would just hang there. It wouldn't do anything. And I left it run for a minute because I'll usually like click on it and wait until the browser crashes. And it finally processed after 4 minutes and 20 seconds after hitting the submit button. So it was working. It was just so insanely slow that it seemed like it wasn't working. So I emailed our developer. Let's see, he uploaded the changes on, let's see, it was yesterday, on Wednesday. On Tuesday is when I sent him that issue that it was going really, really slow. So hopefully he included it, but if not, let me know and I will, I'll keep pushing that with him. So. Okay, yeah, do you have any questions? Are there any like lingering concerns about MyCE or any other technical issues that you might have that you'd like to bring up right now? You can either type that in the chat, or if you want to just click the raise hand, since we've got like 66 people here, if you click the reactions button and then raise hand, we can call on you so you can ask that question directly. That way we don't have like 20 people unmuting and trying to make a comment at the same time. So any questions about MyCE, any comments about MyCE, anything that I need to be aware of and work with our developer on that so it's working for you all. Okay, so Heidi says the teacher application is still running slow, but it'll finish if you wait for 4 minutes. So so it may be that he just hasn't got to that. So it looks like support requests are not coming up. Has anybody else had issues with support requests not coming up like today? Okay. So it looks like there's a couple of people that are having issues. Whenever you have an issue, let me just go over this as well, because I think this helps me and the developer. So if I tell the developer we're having issues with support tickets or support requests, then there's really not much he can do with that. But if I go to him and say, when I go into support requests, like here's a screenshot of what I'm seeing, there's no submit button. That's helpful to him because he has something very specific to look at. So if you run into an issue, the more details you can give me, the more easy it's going to be for the developer to pinpoint exactly what's going on. So if you can do that, like with the support request, like what exactly is the issue? Do you have a screenshot? Does it happen every time? Is it sporadic? If it happens every time, that's so much easier to fix than if it's like, oh no, it works most of the time, but occasionally I click on it and it doesn't do anything. So yeah, if you can let me know specifically what's going on and send screenshots, then that really helps us to sort of get to the root cause of the issue and get that fixed sooner than later. Let's see. There's a couple other questions that came in. Vicky says, wondering if we can get that admitted but not registered report that was mentioned yesterday. Let's see, the admitted but not registered report. We do. So Vicky, do you want to unmute and maybe give me a little more details about what?
Sure. Yesterday at the meeting, they were talking about how from UVU, how they send out a report that shows students that have admitted but not yet registered for the individual classes. If that's in our report section, I don't know how to find that. It would just be very, very helpful so that we would know kind of who to track down.
Okay. Yeah, and we do. So the I believe it's the student directory report. If a student has been admitted, they will appear in that report. You may have to do a little bit of filtering, like filter it by, in fact, I can't remember if we included this or not, but a while back, we asked our IT to include the date of admissions in one of the reports. Well, we pulled it into MyCE, but I can't remember which report we put it into. Becky, do you know if that's in the student directory report, the date they were admitted?
I don't know if it's on the student directory report. It's on a couple of the different reports though, so.
Okay, I see some head nodding. Heather, do you know which report that's on?
You're muted, Heather.
She looks like you're unmuted, but for some reason your audio is not working.
She's looking.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, the data is in MyCE. If it's not on a report that you think would be useful to have it on, then let us know and we can reach out. I think what we'd like to do, like if one person reaches out to us and says, hey, can we include this data on the report? We'll probably reach out to other folks and see if it's useful for everybody, or like a majority, because we don't want to have like, 100 columns of data and to accommodate everybody. And then it makes it unusable for everyone. So we want to create reports that are generally useful. But if everybody's like, or the majority are like, boy, if on that student directory, we could have that date of admissions, oh, that'd be awesome. Then we will definitely get that added on there. So Heather, did you get your audio working? No? Okay. Yeah, so it is on a couple of the reports. The student directory though is going to show a list of all the students that have been admitted. And we'll look into that and see about getting that admissions date on there, because I think that would be useful in that report. And then you could see which students have completed admissions. One of the things that we are working on, this came up when we were talking about process improvement, the admissions and registrations processes, is creating a really easy to build, to run spreadsheet where you could dump a few reports from MyCE and then grab some information from your SIS, your student information system, and combine those together. And then we would generate the formulas for you. And basically all you'd have to do every day would be go in, dump like 4 reports from MyCE, copy the data, paste it into this spreadsheet, and then it will run all the calculations and show you which students are admitted and which students are in the classes they need to be in. So it's a little bit of work. It probably takes you maybe about an hour up front to set it up. And then once that's done, it probably takes you about 15 minutes every day at the most, maybe even faster than that if we try some of the things that they talked about yesterday in the webinar. So hopefully we're going to create a really easy to use and update tracking sheet here down the road for you.
Brandon, if you look in the chat, it's the student hold report.
Oh, the student hold report has it? Okay, great. Awesome. Yeah, so I mean, you could try the student hold report, or I mean, if that gives you what you need, then great. And if not, then let's look at adding the date of admissions on like the student directory or one of the other reports. So let's see if there are any other questions that came in here. Support request not coming up. Screen is blank. Okay, so let's go. You got a blank screen when you go into the support requests. When will the reports be cleaned up with the data in the appropriate columns? I think, Heather, if you want to run that again and just see, because we ran a couple of the reports yesterday after the updates had been added, and it fixed the offset data and some of the duplicates. Give it a try and see if it's working for you. And if not, then let me know. I'll be double checking that as well. But I think, I know Becky verified yesterday that many of the reports that were having that issue, it was fixed, but we didn't check all the reports. So is it good? Yes. Oh, awesome.
Brandon,
okay.
Heidi was saying that up above here, she said that she tried to run the grade reports yesterday and it was still missing a lot of data. And I checked because I had Jacob, my son, applied and did the Qualtrics test, the SLC placement survey. And it still hasn't, and he did that like a week and a half ago, and it's still not showing his Qualtrics grades. So I don't know if there's something still going on with the updates.
Okay, yeah. Do you want to make a note of that? And then we can test and see if it's on the IT banner export side or if it's in the pulling it into MyCE side.
So
yeah, that would be a good thing to look into. Let's see, any other questions here? Okay, if there would be a way to include middle names for students on reporting, yeah, we can do. We have the middle name, we have the full name, so that's something we could definitely look at. Would that be helpful for others out there to have a middle name as well?
Well, I'm the one who put that out there, and I'm hoping other people think it's helpful too. We have a lot of students at our school that go by their middle name, and we actually had 2 students that one had the same first name as another student's middle name, and they had the same last name, and we kept getting their data mixed up. And so we were thinking if we could just have that information, that would help you prevent stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, that would be an easy add. All right. Okay, so yeah, some of the grades still missing. Yes, we have multiple students with very similar names. Okay, great. Great. Yep, we can absolutely add the middle name to the report. So we'll make note of that. Any other questions, requests, features, suggestions with regards to MyCE?
I'm not sure if this is a MyCE thing, but I'm wondering, and it could come in later, when the fall schedule will come out.
The fall schedule. You
for
mean
on campus?
Oh, for on-campus concurrent enrollment? That,
correct.
Becky, when do we get that? When do they start updating?
We usually get it within a couple of weeks before registration starts. So I think registration starts at the beginning of April, like the end of March, beginning of April. So we should be getting that from admissions probably the second or third, or yeah, 2 or 3 weeks before that.
All right, cool. Well, if there are no other questions, oh, Heidi had one. I was wondering when the calendar dates will be set for next year.
Those are already set, so I can give those to Brandon. In fact, I'll make a little note to send those to Brandon to put on the website.
Okay. All right, well, if there are no other questions about MyCE, then I will go ahead and turn the time back over to, let's see, is Becky now is going to talk about test scores, deadlines, and best practices for tracking.
Thanks, Brandon. So we have had a lot of issues with test scores, a lot of questions about test scores, particularly AP. So I'm going to kind of go through the SLCC's policies for test scores, and just maybe some things that we can all do, things that we're working on in our office to make that easier for you. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with AP. According to our test or our transfer evaluation office, AP scores have to be received from College Board. They will not take them from a high school transcript. They won't take the email that the student got from College Board. They have to go directly from College Board to Salt Lake Community College. They will also, it says that they will accept the original sealed test scores if they bring them in person. So that is the only other way that they can do it. They have to be a 3 or higher for us to give them credit, and they could take several weeks to be received and processed. So we really need to make sure we're planning ahead with these students that are planning on using their AP scores, because it can take up to 8 weeks, and last year it was taking them several months. On ACT scores, they have to come from ACT, or they have to be on an official transcript. So it has to be a signed transcript, or it has to have a transcript letter attached to it. in order for them. And you can't just put like ACT scores on the back of the transcript. It has to be actually part of the transcript. The math scores on ACT scores are good for 18 months. Reading and English are good forever. They don't ever expire. And those are usually processed within 24 to 48 hours from the time that we receive them. And then just some policies on the SLCC placement survey. And I'm working really hard on calling that a survey because it is not a test. It is more of a survey, just to kind of see where they're at, where they're going, and places them that way. So on the placement survey, it takes them about, the math expires after about a year, and they have to be at least 3 weeks before they retest. If they retest, if they're able to get in and they retest before that 3 weeks, the testing center will actually go in and delete it, even if it's better score. So they need to make sure it's been at least 3 weeks before they retest. And they can retake that once per semester. For English, that never expires. They can retest once per semester as well, but they have to wait 24 hours. So the math is 3 weeks. The English, after 24 hours, they can retest. And we did have a few students that tried to take the CLEP test to get around the AP test scores. The CLEP test is actually also a College Board test. So even though we administer it here, it is sent to College Board and we have to wait till we receive those scores. And that's another one that takes weeks. It's about 4 to 6 weeks for those to get to us and get processed. So they have to have at least a 50 for non-math. There's, you can go to our testing website and look at the scores for math. They're all kind of different scores for each math class. And if they want to retake that CLEP test, they have to wait at least 3 months. The thing that they need to understand about the CLEP test is not all other schools will accept that transfer credit. So some of the differences between the AP and CLEP and then ACT and the placement survey. So AP and CLEP actually awards them credit. So Salt Lake Community College is a lot more strict about those because we're actually awarding them college credit for those test scores. Whereas ACT in the placement survey, they're just giving them a prerequisite. And so the college absolutely will not process an AP score until we have those test scores in hand. And that is why they are so strict about it, is because we're actually giving them college credit. AP and CLEP are also processed differently. They are not processed as test scores. They're processed as like a transcript coming from another college. It's actually a transfer. It goes through our transfer evaluations office. And that's why it takes them a little bit longer to be processed than an ACT score. So ACT and the SLCC placement, again, that's the big difference. And I know everybody is been having a really hard time with the AP scores and why we can't just put them in. And the college is extremely strict about that because of the difference between the ACT and the AP. The deadlines have been a big deal. For AP and CLEP, for students to get registered, they have to have those. We have to have them and have them processed by the registration deadline. So students that are trying to get into specifically English 2010, they have to have sent their AP scores at least, I mean, if they have them rushed, at least 3 weeks before the registration date, or we're not going to get them in time for them to register. They do not qualify for late registration if we don't have them. So just make sure that we just need to make sure that we're letting these kids know. And we'll kind of go over that a little bit later about how we can, work together to do that. So ACT and CLEP have to be received by the registration deadline. The reason that is the length of time it takes for scores to be received and processed. So if we go past that registration date, then it's going to create problems if something happens and we don't get those AP scores. Then you guys are in a conundrum in trying to get them moved if we have to move them out of that English 2010 class. So the late registration just doesn't work for these students that are trying to take English 2010 and they're using their AP scores. For the ACT and SLC placement survey, they have to have taken the placement survey by the benchmark date. After that, we can't, if they try to take it during the week after the benchmark, the test benchmark, we can't guarantee that they're going to be able to register. And then ACT scores, they have to be requested by that testing benchmark date. If they have not been requested by then, they do not, neither them nor the placement survey students that didn't do it before the benchmark date are qualified for a late registration. So we're going to be very strict about this in the future as far as test scores go. So we really need to make sure these students are getting their test scores in time. If something happens and they take that ACT, or they send those ACT scores to us after or before the benchmark date, but we don't get them before their registration date, then they can still do a late registration. It's just if they send them after that benchmark date, then we can't do it.
Okay, Becky, there's a couple of questions that have come in.
Okay.
So Kristen was wondering, do you accept scores through Parchment, through the Parchment?
So Parchment, is that where the students request their, okay. Are they official? Are they signed and sent to us? Official transcripts that are sent to us, do you know?
They're official transcripts that come through the Parchment program that's, I think it's state approved. I'm just making sure that you guys accept that.
I believe so. I know we've had a lot of them that were sent that way this year and they were processed. So yes, they will accept them. They're usually sent directly, when they're sent through Parchment, they're sent directly to our data center that enters them. The AP scores, no. CLEP and AP scores, no. But the ACT scores, yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Do they still have to pay for the second test? Yes. I believe they have to call the testing center. So when they set up the second test, they'll probably, I'm not sure when they set that up, and they're taking it through us, but when they're taking it through you, they need to call the testing center and get that paid before they take the second test. And then if a student takes a CLEP test, receives an associate's degree, and then transfers to another four-year institution, will they have to retake the class? Salote or Elena, either one of you guys know the answer to that?
Sure, yeah, so typically when the degree is awarded, the institution will look at it as an entire package. It just depends on the degree, or excuse me, the college, or like of the university the student's going to. So if it's like the College of Science or something like that, especially with higher level math and science that's required, depending on the class that's coming over, it really is going to depend on the institution, whether they'll take that as the prereq, if it's required to get into that specific program. But typically universities will look at the entire degree as a package. So we as advisors would share with the rest of our advisors to connect with that person at the transfer institution, like the student to connect with the advisor or research the degree website for more information. I hope that makes sense and is helpful.
And then Heidi mentioned that their students have been able to pay for their second test through the testing center online. So
can I add one thing too on the AP scores?
mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we're working on in MyCE, we're working with our IT right now to pull AP scores from our banner system and then import those into MyCE. So you'd be able to see those on student records in MyCE. And then also there'd be a report, just like there's a report for ACT scores, SLCC placement scores, the Qualtrics, and then there would be one for AP. So we're working on building that. We just sent in the request. We've been talking back and forth with IT for probably a couple of months, and we just sent in a request. So he should be working on that here in the next few weeks. So hopefully we would be able to see, you'll be able to see whether the student has AP credit awarded in the next couple of months. So.
So Vicki was wondering if the online testing or the online SLCC survey continue even after COVID. We don't know. We have no idea. I don't even think the testing center knows what they're doing after COVID. They don't know what's going on next semester usually when I call them. So as soon as we know, we'll let you know. But for now, it's going to continue online. So some of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys about as far as things that maybe you guys can do is to notify students just before the AP test. So maybe go in as they're starting the AP test and just remind them the policies for Salt Lake Community College and to have them select SLCC on their test. That's one of the things that you can do to make sure that they're doing that, getting those sent to us. You may want to include information on your registration materials, anything sent out specifically about English 2010, to remind them to send their AP scores if they haven't done so already. And then maybe, you can send, I know a lot of people have sent out reminders or emails to the students, several months ahead of time, maybe in November, December, just reminding them to make sure that their AP scores have been sent to Salt Lake Community College if they're taking 2010. Some of the things you can do to track those scores, you can email a list of students to Teresa Christensen here in our office, and she will look up and see if we have AP scores. So if you have a list of students you want us to check on, she can do that. I highly suggest you CC me on them as well, just in case she's out, or, so at least two of us have access to do that for you. As far as other test scores, I don't know if everybody's aware of the report that you can pull in MyCE. There are reports where you can pull ACT scores, you can pull the SLCC placement survey scores, all of those all on one report. So if you, and here I'll just share my screen and you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. Sorry, I haven't moved my big screens over yet, so I have to kind of go back and forth. There we go. Why is it not showing it?
Not showing. Do you want me to show mine, Becky?
Yeah, can you show them?
Yeah.
It's not pulling up here. There you go.
See that? Okay. You want me to switch over as one of the coordinators?
Yes, please.
Okay. Who should we switch as?
Pick one.
Well, if it loads.
Type in Christy. You'll get a few of them.
All right, let's do, here we go. We'll just pick the top one.
There you go.
Even though there won't be much data. It's okay. All right, so reports.
Go into reports. And then you're going to go into students. And student test scores. So you can't do all of the different tests at one time. You have to select a specific test. You've got the USHE scores, you've got the Qualtrics, which is the SLCC placement, AccuPlacer for students that took the AccuPlacer before we switched over, and then ACT. So you can pull that report and it'll bring up all of your students and their test scores for that specific test. It'll, you know, I don't know, does it show if the student does not have any tests? Any test scores, Brandon, do you know?
The student doesn't appear on the list if they don't have test scores, I think.
Okay. So they just don't appear on the list if they don't have test scores. So I know there's a lot of people that don't realize that those reports are available to them. So they're very, very handy in tracking your students and tracking different things on your students, as well as your classes and your teachers. So play around with those if you haven't done so already. The other thing that I've seen people do is keep spreadsheets, like a spreadsheet of all their students that are taking concurrent enrollment and just manually entering those test scores. Hopefully we can get those spreadsheet tools done at some point, so that'll be an easy thing for you to do. You can just import them rather than having to manually add those test scores on your spreadsheets.
There's a question from Brandon Jacobson.
What does it, so it'll just show if they qualify or don't qualify.
Well, he's wondering if the student has a test score submitted but is not officially applied for SLCC, will they show up on our school specific site? And the answer is no.
They will not. The reason for that is so when they send their test scores, they're given an ACT test scores. They're given an S number and an account, and their scores are put on that account. But the only students that are being pulled into MyCE are the students that have already applied to be concurrent enrollment. So it won't pull them into MyCE. So you won't be able to see them just on test scores. They have to have applied. And then, sorry, what does it show for USHE test scores? That's the one I was answering, sorry. And it'll just show if they're qualified or not qualified on the USHE test scores. Everybody good? Any more questions or? Okay, so some of the things that we've already done, we did go through our materials. Our late registration form was not very specific on test scores, and some of the language on our website was not very specific. And so we've kind of updated those so that it specifically says for ACT and the placement survey, the AP scores are not included in some of those. So those are some of the things that we've already done. I'm currently working on building a Canvas page that you guys can give out to students. It's just a Canvas shell that we will make available to you. You guys can use it or not, but it specifies AP scores for during registration in several places. So that should help students as far as prerequisites and AP test scores and things like that. So I've been very thorough on the Canvas site, and hopefully I've got the first module done. I'm still working on a couple other little things, and hopefully I'll have that done in the next month or so, and you guys can kind of see what it looks like and if you guys want to use it. As Brandon was saying, in MyCE, you guys have been asking for years about adding AP scores to MyCE. Some of the difficulties we've had is they're not, as I said before, they're not recorded as test scores. They're actually recorded as transfer credit. And so we weren't quite sure how we were going to make that work. Even as I was looking through the data, it was kind of difficult because there are so many different AP tests that they take and so many different courses that would be fulfilled. And so we're kind of working through that. And then, in the past year, we haven't really tried anything because of other more pressing issues with MyCE. As Brandon said, we're still in the beginning stages, so we are making no guarantees or no promises at this point. We're hoping, but we're not making any guarantees. Brandon did send that information over, or that request over to the IT department. I also sent over the data that they would need to find what we're looking for. So hopefully with my information and Brandon's information that we've both sent, they can make it work. But right now, it's just so early in the process. We have no idea what it's going to look like. We don't know what's going to be pulled in. We don't know any of that yet. So the other thing that we will be doing is we're going to be meeting with some of the other departments regarding AP scores and how we're going to be handling those in the future. So, and who will be handling those, just kind of going through everything with the AP scores. So if anything changes as far as AP scores, we will let you know. But right now, I think we're kind of, that's what we've already gone through is the land of the law for Salt Lake Community College. So, and I think that's it for test scores. Does anybody have any other questions regarding test scores or suggestions, you know, on what you guys can do, what we can do to make test scores a little easier to track, a little easier to deal with? Nobody? Okay. Well, then I think Celote and Elena are up next.
There was a question that came in.
Oh, there is a question. So if a USHE test score doesn't show up, so if it's not showing up on MyCE, you would send a request, a support request with their transcripts showing that they have taken secondary 1, 2, and 3 and received a C or better average in each one. And I will go in and physically add that USHE score so that it shows that they qualify. So I did have a question this morning, and I know it's been kind of confusing for everybody. For secondary math 1, 2, and 3, it is not an average of the 3 years of the 3 classes. It is an average of each class. So they have to have a C average for the year of each class for them to qualify. So, I mean, they can get 3 A's and an F in secondary 1. They still have a C average, they qualify. They can't fail secondary 1 and 2 or secondary 1 and then get A's, you know, A averages in 2 and 3 and qualify. They have to have at least a C average in all 3. Okay. No more questions? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn some time over to Celote and Elena. They're going to go over some things regarding our applications, some confusion that we've had about that, and then also the difference between concurrent enrollment, early enrollment, and the SAT program. So.
Did you, Becky, I may have missed it, I apologize. Did you still want to cover the locating and tracking parent permission forms before we went on for advising?
Oh, was that supposed to go next? I can do that. Sorry.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Laura, really quick, the P, if they get a P in secondary math, they have to test into secondary math using this SLCC placement survey. So it's, if they get a W, then they don't qualify because they did not complete. But with a P, they completed, but we don't have an actual grade, so they actually have to test into it.
Becky, there's a question from Laura about what about the P minus? Are we still treating that as a non-factor? Is there a difference between a P and a P minus?
No, there's no P minus. It's just a P.
Okay.
Okay. Parent permission forms. Parent permission forms. We do not track the parent permission forms. I know a lot of people have been asking about the parent permission forms that are in MyCE. Those are from when we had our own in-house parent permission form. We are not currently using those. Maybe in the future we will be using them again. So you'll see that all of your students are missing their parent permission forms, and that is because we do not track them. We have no way of tracking them. They need to be going to, and if you go into the Concurrent Enrollment website, maybe I can get this to work. Share screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay, so you'll go, this is where you need to send your students. You need to send them to the Concurrent Enrollment website. If they go into the registration tab, it is one of the steps at the very bottom of how to register is sign the parent permission form. And then there's a link right here, and that takes them to the USHE parent permission form. This is the parent permission form that is required by USHE. So they can fill that out. And like I said, we have no way of tracking it. I have seen some schools that are requiring their students to send in screenshots that's showing that they've completed it. You can do that. Some of the problems that they've had with that is every student shows a different screen. Like they're either showing like you've completed this, or they're showing the email that the parent receives saying that they signed this parent permission form. So if you require them to send you a screenshot so that you can track to make sure that they're doing their parent permission form, you may get several different screens, and each screen is going to look different based on the device that the student used to fill it out. And so just be aware that if you're going to track them, they may all look different, but they're all the same thing. It's as long as it says USHE, this USHE CE, oops, sorry. Okay, well, as long as they see this, you see the USHE CE at the top there, or on the from email, it's going to be that USHE parent permission form, and that's what they have to fill out. They do not need to go into MyCE anymore and fill out a parent permission form. So that one was a pretty quick one. I just wanted to clarify because we've had a lot of people asking if we've received the parent permission forms, and I just don't know. Does anybody have questions about the parent permission form at all? Okay. With that, we're going to give some time over to Salote and Elena.
Awesome. Thanks, Becky. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, I'm getting head nods. So awesome. Happy Friday Eve, everyone. First off, we're almost there. I know everyone has probably had such a crazy week. Thank you for allowing us to just kind of share some information and updates on the advising side for concurrent enrollment. So I'm going to share my screen, Becky, if that's okay. We have a couple slides to present, and I'm going to turn off my video as well, just in case it gets like a little laggy. I don't want that to happen. So let me navigate this. Okay. Can you guys all see my screen? Perfect. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and jump in. First off, I'll just kind of talk about, Elena and I will both talk about a few updates. Like Becky mentioned, we want to introduce ourselves because there may be some new coordinators that we probably have never met, and there may be some friends that we've been working with for a while. So we'll do an introduction, and we'll go over our School of Applied Technology and the differences between early enrollment, concurrent enrollment, and then our admissions update application. So first off, my team, I supervise, so my name's Salote Brown Halatoa. Pronounce it however you can say it, totally fine with whatever. And I supervise a team of 3 advisors, including myself, so I guess 4. And we cover all of the public high schools within the Salt Lake Valley. And we do specifically the concurrent enrollment advising. So, you know, any student that needs help with planning out their degree plan or just has questions about concurrent enrollment, you're welcome to send them our way. We have Daniel, and we're kind of split up between schools right now. So the best place to look, if you don't know already who your concurrent enrollment advisor is, I hope you do. The Concurrent Enrollment Advising website is the best place, and we have all of these schools that these advisors cover there. And so we have a Stephanie, unfortunately, a Stephanie Perez Lopez. She will be leaving tomorrow for a new opportunity. So in her place, if you've been working with a Stephanie, feel free to contact me. I will be helping her students temporarily until we can hire a new advisor. So just a heads up there if you have been working with the Stephanie. And then we have Lisa Molina as well, who advises. So that's our team who's over the public high schools within the Salt Lake Valley. And then I'll turn the time over to Elena to introduce herself and her team.
Thanks, Salote. So I'm Elena Castillo. I supervise the alternative high school team. So very similar to Salote's team, we also provide recruitment efforts and different events we carry on. But we also primarily focus, or the other part of our duties is concurrent enrollment advising. So a new transition that we took on this year is my team is now taking over the Salt Lake School District. So I did post that website into the chat, so feel free to review that or share that with your students. At the end of our presentation, I will share an infographic for some of the things that we have talked about today. Salt Lake School District is split up between Miguel and Riley, and then we also take care of Cottonwood and Kearns is from Granite School District, and then the rest of our concentration is charter, alternative, and private high schools. As well as campus tours college-wide. So we are only doing virtual campus tours right now. So if you're interested, feel free to email campustours@slcc.edu if you have students that are interested, or if you have teachers that would like to learn a little bit more about SLCC, we're happy to connect that way also. So as part of our agenda, just the first thing we'll cover is the School of Applied Technology. As you all may be aware, students can take advantage of the different programs that are offered through the School of Applied Technology. So we do offer the two different tracks. There is the AAS, the Associate of Applied Science. So it is a 2-year degree. It's about 25% general education, so not as much as a traditional AA or AS degree. It is designed for students to get the hands-on learning and opportunities for that particular field. So when they do graduate, they're right up there with the experts that are already working in the field. They're pretty flexible. The programs that we have through SATT, just for short, School of Applied Technology, some of them can be completed online. Some are doing a hybrid format. Now with COVID, only limited space is open in certain labs just for safety reasons. And then just to jump back over to the different option is the certificate option. So the clock hour options as well. So in the infographic I just referred to, I'll share that in just a second. There is a whole CTE handbook that you all can refer to that gives you the different degrees or programs that are available to students while they're in high school. It's broken up by area of study. So we do have 8 different areas of study. They're just umbrellas that hold all the different degrees and programs inside. So depending on what the student is interested in, they can research some of those different programs that are available through the School of Applied Technology. Some of the programs also have weekly enrollment. So depending on the student schedule for high school, they could start pretty early after completing the application process. Which we will talk about in the next slide. But the different certificates and degree programs, these are stackable. So students can maybe start out doing a certificate program and then decide while, like maybe they complete it while they're in high school and they want to use that certificate into kind of move that into a degree program. They could do that with some of these different programs. Or maybe they want to do that after they graduate high school to pursue just a little bit more than a certificate. Does anyone have any questions so far about SAT? Looks like the chat is pretty clear so far. All right. So getting enrolled as a high school student for one of the SAT programs is very similar for students that are looking to do concurrent enrollment. So they do need to complete the online SLCC admissions application, the parent permission form, and the high school pre-registration form. So on the SAT website, there is a section specifically for getting enrolled as a high school student that has all of those forms on there. And so, like I said, we'll share all of that information with you. For SAT student, similar to the test taking process, except the students before were having to take the TABE, and now we are not doing that assessment anymore for SAT. We're having the students do the CASAS test instead. And so a little bit different than the SLIC placement process. These are offered in person by appointment at the locations shown on the screen. So students can call those different locations to schedule their appointment. And then I think one of the main differences with SAT advising and then concurrent enrollment advising is that there are specific advisors assigned to different SAT programs. Although Solote and I and our teams are very well seasoned and we advise our students the best we can based on what their goals are and what's available at SLCC, there are different SAT advisors for students pursuing SAT programs. So it's very important that these students connect with their assigned advisor if they're working towards an SAT program. So Solote is going to show you really quick what that website looks like, just so you have a quick reference of where to refer students. I'll go ahead and upload while she's getting that ready. I can upload that document really quick for you.
Okay, so here's the website. If you just go to slcc.edu/SATTS, it's really laid out nicely. There's a little information video for students, and then there is a link here that says academic advising. And this gives more information on how to schedule appointments through their MySLCC portal. But there's also a list here of the different programs and the advisor's contact info and like where they're located as well. So this is where you'll want to check to find out who that student's advisor is if they're pursuing a SAT program.
And please don't hesitate if you're unsure who the advisor is for the SAT program, or if the student's in between a couple different programs, feel free to send them to their assigned SLCC CE advisor. We're happy to refer them or even to the CE office. We are intentional about making sure that there is a streamlined soft handoff process for students to get where they need to go without being redirected to 17 different areas, because it does become taxing. So if you're unable to find it, feel free to reach out to us or send your student to their assigned SLCC CE advisor.
Elena,
Mm-hmm.
Connie was asking if you guys can share those slides and if they can get more information about the CASAS test.
Yes, yeah. So we can export these slides and send it the best way. Becky, do you think if we just send it to you and you can distribute?
Yes.
Okay. And then we can include some information more about the CASAS test. It's still relatively new for us too. So we will share that link with Becky to distribute to you all.
Okay, cool. So on to our next agenda item. If for those of you who are newer coordinators, I hope this will be somewhat helpful. Again, just because of time, we're going to give kind of a high overview of the differences between the three. So early enrollment, it's designed to substitute high school curriculum, and it's designed to supplement it for students who, want to maybe challenge themselves outside of the concurrent enrollment courses that are offered at the high school. And the biggest difference, one, early enrollment students are admitted as non-degree seeking and they're not eligible for financial aid or scholarships through Salt Lake Community College. And a big, big difference between early enrollment and concurrent enrollment is that it is full tuition. So students are not paying the $5 per credit hour like they would be with concurrent enrollment. They are paying the full tuition as a normal SLCC student. And in order to participate in early enrollment, there's of course eligibility requirements. So they do have to complete their sophomore year. They do need to be enrolled in high school or registered as a homeschooled student through the school district. And they do have to place in at least English 1010, Math 1030, or Math 1010. They do not have to pay the $40 application fee if they are already a concurrent enrollment student and they're just enrolling in an early enrollment course. They don't have to pay that again. And so, but there is a separate process and documents that these students need to submit for early enrollment. The best place to look for all of these documents is going to be found on our early enrollment website. So I will show you guys that, because that will have a list of all of the documents they need to submit. So let me just pull that up real quick so you can see. Again, it's really easy to find. If you just go to slcc.edu, you can even type in up here in the search bar early enrollment and it will be the first option. But you'll have all the information you need as far as, you know, what the eligibility requirements are. If you need to refer back to it, it's here as well. As far as advising goes, what we see a lot of with students is that they feel like they're required to come and meet with concurrent enrollment advisors when they're doing early enrollment. But if they have already enrolled as a concurrent enrollment student, they're not required to meet with us before registering for classes. So only newly accepted early enrollment students, so they've never done CE before, and their first classes they're taking through early enrollment, then there will be a hold on their account. So they do need to come and make an appointment with our advisors, just so that we can make sure that we're going over, you know, student responsibilities, especially because they're paying full tuition, and making sure that they understand that they are going to be charged full tuition for these courses, and kind of the differences between the two. Early enrollment courses as well. So if you click on this tab, this will have all of the documents that they need. And they can actually, when they're applying for early enrollment, they could submit these documents through their application online if they'd like, or they can always bring it on campus, but things have to be in a sealed envelope, like their transcripts and stuff. And then also their permission letter as well needs to be on letterhead. So they do have the option to submit it online, and they can find the forms here as well. I think the biggest difference, like I mentioned with early enrollment, is of course the cost, but also we're not seeing a lot of students, you know, participate in early enrollment, because we do have a big variety of concurrent enrollment classes offered not only at your guys' high schools, but we do have concurrent enrollment on campus as well. But early enrollment is really for, you know, one, the HLAC class that is only offered as early enrollment, but also then there may be some classes that a student just really, really wants to take that may not be offered through concurrent enrollment, and they've exhausted all of their options at the high school. Then we, you know, then we can look at kind of the early enrollment options, and that's where we encourage students to look into that option for their degree plan. But are there any questions about early enrollment before I jump to concurrent?
Things look good so far here in the chat, Sility.
Okay, thanks. All right, so then we move on to concurrent enrollment. You guys are concurrent enrollment experts. I mean, you guys are coordinators, right? You do this all the time as you're working with students. And so we just wanted to kind of share maybe some updates or refreshers, and then maybe some scenarios that we've seen this past fall. So like I said, concurrent enrollment, students are getting college credit and high school credit. And it's a great opportunity for these students to get a head start as well. And of course, we're always mindful as advisors as we're planning their degrees and going through their goals with them to make sure that this is a good fit, because we know that there are a lot of different options for students. Concurrent enrollment, AP, IB, there's just a lot of opportunities. And so thank you guys for, helping us with that as you're working with your students at your high schools through this process. So just as a reminder, concurrent enrollment students, there are eligibility requirements as well. They have to be a junior or senior. There are some exceptions depending on the high school classes that are offered in your guys' process as well. And then you're probably all aware of the minimum GPA requirement, and you guys each may have different GPA requirements at your high school. Some CE courses, they also differ in qualifications depending on the class they take. They may have a different test score requirement. And our concurrent enrollment website is a really, really good place to see what those qualifications are. If you're not familiar with the website, we can show you if we have a little bit of time at the end, but it's really laid out nicely with the different courses and what those requirements are. They just have to fill out our admissions application, pay the $40 fee only one time. And we've seen students, sometimes they get mixed up with the application fee and then the registration fees each semester. So we kind of, need to remind them that the $40 application fee is only paid once, but they do have their tuition each semester that they want to make sure they're on top of. And then their signed parent permission form each year that Becky went over as well. And then of course, with concurrent enrollment, we know that there's the $5 cost per credit. So that's a huge discount. And so students, we see a lot of times they get a little confused between early enrollment and concurrent enrollment. And so we don't want them to get confused, because we don't want them to get a really big tuition bill at the end of their semester. So just making sure that we clarify that difference for students. And then of course, as advisors, we're available to help advise. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to contact us. Our advising schedules are on the CE website. So if you go there and you click on advising, and you can see your school's advisor, students can schedule appointments with us. Right now, due to COVID, we are only doing virtual appointments. But hopefully that'll change as time goes on. We're all just kind of hoping for the best there. So they can still meet with advisors through our advising website as well.
So we have a couple of questions in the chat really quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is, how many credits may a student sign up for through early enrollment?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Elena? My internet kind of broke out right when you started talking.
Yeah. How many credits may a student sign up for through early enrollment?
So concurrent enrollment total, we know, is 30 credits per year. Early enrollment gets a little tricky because a lot of students take early enrollment in the summer, and because they're paying tuition, technically it is not counted within the concurrent credit, because those are full tuition courses. They're basically taking them as like a traditional college student, but we highly encourage, we don't recommend that they go over 18 credit hours total each semester. We've had our limit really when we're advising students is to stay under 15 credits. But we do have some students who want to take more. They do have to go through an appeals process if they're wanting to do that, but it's really rare. It's case by case for students, because we want to make sure that they're able to handle the caseload that they're taking. So it is a 30 credit limit for concurrent enrollment technically, and Becky, you can jump in if you want for on the state side and the policy there, but we haven't had students at least that we have advised, go over that 15 credit limit per semester. Do you want to add anything to that, Becky?
We have had a few that wanted to go over 18 credit hours. So the system will stop a student once they've hit 18 credits in combined concurrent enrollment and early enrollment. So the system will not let them register once they've hit that 18 credits. So even if they have like 16 credits and they're trying to add another 3 credits, it won't allow them to. As Salote said, there is an appeal to go over that 18 credits, but again, very, very rare that it's approved. 18 credits is a lot for a regular college student that's not also trying to complete high school. So they don't really like to have students going over that 18 credits. As far as the 30 credit hours per year for concurrent enrollment, early enrollment isn't included in that at all. So they just have to stay under that 30. That is state legislated. They don't fund anything over 30 credits per student. So.
Thanks, Becky and Salote. And the last question we have here is, where is the exception form for 10th graders?
So there's no exception form for 10th graders. There are some art classes and some other CTE classes that are available to 9th and 10th graders. It's up to the schools to decide what students are eligible to take those classes. If they're ready for those classes, you may have GPA requirements, or you may have, teacher approval, or, you may just let all of your incoming 10th graders take Art 1010. I don't know, but we leave that up to you guys. They just cannot come on our campus until they're in at least 11th grade.
And then question specifically about EMT. So what about EMT credit that is 10 hours? How does that fit in the 30 credit total? Which semester does it count in?
In the 30 credit total, it counts as the yearly total. So the 30 credits is per year, per school year. So that's fall and spring. And so that 10 hours will, usually the 10-hour classes are a full year. And so they're counted in their 18 credit hour per semester limit in that fall semester.
Great, thanks. Those are good questions, everyone. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything? Okay. All right.
Okay, cool. We're going to move on, and I'm going to pass the time over to Elena to talk about admissions application update.
So the admissions application update can be a bit sticky, especially if students they have been doing concurrent enrollment for a couple semesters and they now are a senior. So what does that look like? And there were a couple circumstances that Becky shared with us that if we have time, we definitely would like to talk to, because if it's one situation, then there might be others. So for example, completing the admissions app to switch from their status from C to traditional student. That's all the admissions app update is, or to collect any updated personal information for the student if the student has moved, or whatever the case is. We want to make sure that we have the most up-to-date information for the student. And most importantly, if they want to switch from CE to traditional student and attend that following semester, that they need to complete this. However, they do not have to pay the admissions fee again. So long as the student has their S number with them, there is a section in the admissions application that asks, have you taken SLCC classes before? And they would say yes. And then there's logic there that drops down and allows them to put in their student ID number. So please encourage your students to do so. As UCA time comes around, we'll be available, hopefully not virtually this year, but we'll be there to support and make sure that students are doing the correct application and making sure they're not paying the $40 again. For this particular instance, if there is a student, a senior who maybe has never done CE before, and they are interested in doing just a couple of CE classes the spring semester of their senior year, we are encouraging students to make sure that, one, that they communicate that with you as the coordinator or their teacher, or with us as the advisor, to make sure that they do the CE application as their initial application that opens up those CE opportunities. And then once they register for their spring classes and they're taking it, then we can help them update for the fall, because that scholarship deadline happens pretty early. And so we want to make sure that their CE spring schedule is set, but also that they have that update on file for that fall upcoming semester so that they can do those scholarship applications and get some of those extra enrollment things completed before that fall semester begins. So that speaks a little bit to that bottom one. So for spring 22, if there are students right now that maybe have already done their fall update or they haven't done their fall update, go ahead and encourage them to do that now. If they know that they're looking to attend fall 21, it will not impact their spring 21 or their future spring semester at all. So hopefully this clarifies some things. I know it can get a little bit sticky. There are instructions on our website that are included in the infographic that will help students walk through the admissions application update. Please feel free to contact us if you all have any questions or if students get stuck. But the most important thing to know, if a student is currently taking CE classes at this time and they want to update for fall to become a traditional student, updating now will not impact their registration for spring or their CE classes currently for the spring semester. So I know that was a lot of information, but does anyone have any questions about the admissions application update? Because there is a little bit of overlap, and we can certainly see the reservation to update, but it has no impact on the spring. No? Everyone's clear? Okay, everyone now an expert.
Elena, was that a change? Because it seems like it used to be that if they had updated their mission app before they registered for spring semester, then they wouldn't be able to register for classes. But that's not the case anymore. So if a concurrent student rolls that over in January and then they go to register for a concurrent class in February, then they're good to go.
Yes. I was just going to add one thing. There's been some preconceived, or not preconceived, but some rumors, I guess, that is what's happening. What I'm seeing happening is students are updating for the fall semester as traditional students, but they've got update holds already for spring, and people are thinking it's caused by that fall. It really is not. It's almost like it's a separate application. It says application update, but it's almost like it's a separate application. So nothing that they do for fall semester affects what is going on with their concurrent enrollment.
Thanks, Becky and Brandon. And Vicki dropped a question, and I was hoping to get some clarification on this too, Brandon. So in the beginning, you said IT was working on the update and doing some rollover status for spring. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yes, sure. So that's different than, so what I'm talking about is the term update issue. So the issue that IT is fixing is if a student, say a student who's a sophomore applies for admissions, and they say, and in the admissions application, they have to select the term when they're going to start. And most of them just select fall semester. But if they don't take a class fall semester and they wait until spring semester, that's when they get this admissions update hold that has caused, well, every semester it causes you all like a ton of frustration out there trying to get students to recomplete the admission application and to get that hold removed. That's the hold they're getting rid of. The admission update that Elena is talking about and Salote is basically the process of them changing from a concurrent student to a traditional Salt Lake Community College adult student. So we sort of refer to them the same, which is a little confusing. We should probably call the one that IT is working on the term update hold instead of the admissions update hold. And then what Elena and Salote are talking about is the admissions updates to change them from one type of student to another type of student. So hopefully that makes sense.
Got it. No, it does, yes. And then just to differentiate between the two. So when the student changes over from a CE student to a traditional SLCC student, it opens up other enrollment like requirements that a traditional, like a CE student would not see. And so those are steps that need to be completed, like things like orientation, submitting transcripts, applying for financial aid. Those are things that are not open for CE students. And so we need to switch that status over. So the former CE student, now traditional SLCC student, can start working on those things to prepare for the following semester. So I hope that that helps. And then quickly, we just wanted to share some of the current safety measures that the institution is working on. So if you all want to take a photo of this, we'll share it with Becky so you all can review. But this is just kind of a snapshot of what the institution is doing to keep everyone safe from the COVID. So Lotte, you want to wrap up?
Yes. So of course, you know, we're at time, so I want to be respectful of your guys' time. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Like I said, our advising website has all of our contact info, and you can also connect with us. We are getting really good. Well, I'm not getting really good. My team's getting really good at social media and posting. I'm still like living under a rock, I feel like sometimes, but we are putting all of our updates, deadlines, events, things that are happening on our social media page. So if you want to sign up, please do, and we'll include you on that. And we hope to stay connected with you all. But other than that, that is all the information that we have for you guys. If you have any questions, drop it in the chat, or we can connect later on as well. But thank you guys.
Thank you, Lotte. I'm gonna.
Let me unshare my screen.
Yeah. Okay. So is everybody good? Are we ready to move on, or anybody have any questions? Okay. So one of the things I wanted to show you, I sent out an email a couple months ago, but I still get a lot of people asking questions. So I just kind of wanted to walk through the coordinator handbook that as I told you, I am still hadn't brought those to you guys, but we're going to mail them out soon. But everything that is in these books is on our website. So I completely revamped our website. So I'm going to share that with you and kind of go over some of the things that is on the website, and make it a little bit easier for you guys to find what you need. Let's go back in there. So if you go to our website, the slcc.edu/concurrent enrollment, and you come down here to the high school partners, let's get rid of that. We've got pretty much everything you could possibly, any question that you have or any forms that you need, tutorials, all kinds of stuff is all on this website. Hopefully I put it in a way that you guys can easily find things. So right here at the very top are our course offerings. I think Elena and Lotte kind of referred to this a couple of times. All of our course offerings, everything that we offer through concurrent enrollment is on here. And you can go to any one of these classes and you can look and see, okay, this, I can have mixed classes for this one. So not 100% has to be CE. I can have regular students and CE students in this class. It's open for 9th through 12th. It will fulfill the fine arts credit. So it'll have everything in there, as well as the ones that have prerequisites. So I keep talking about English 2010, so we're going to go in there. Extends principles of rhetorical awareness. So it goes through the entire description. It tells you what it aligns to. And the prerequisites are English 1010 with a C or better. 3 credits. It fulfills their English credit. And it has to be 100% concurrent enrollment. The enrollment caps as well are always listed. So You can't have more than 25 students in an English 2010 class. So everything is in there. You can also filter. So if you're looking for the classes that fulfill a certain gen ed requirement, you can, this one does fine arts and the diversity credit that is required, music 1040. If you want to go to fine arts all by itself, what did I do there? Sorry, guys. Fine arts, it has all of the classes. There we go. Okay, well, we're gonna just go out of there and try it again. Sorry. There we go. So all of the classes that would fulfill our fine arts. You can also go in and go by restrictions. So ones that are only taught at SLCC or grades. So if you're looking for ones that are open for 9th through 12th, it'll pull up all the classes that are open to 9th graders all the way through 12th. So there's all kinds of things you can do with that right there. Next up is the coordinator guide. So this is pretty much everything that is in the handbook that I'll be sending out to you. So all the information required right here is in offering concurrent enrollment at your high school. So participating in early enrollment. So a little bit of information about early enrollment in case students have questions about that. New coordinators, who to contact. Getting access to MyCE. So everything that you need to know about getting started to offer concurrent enrollment at your school. And then if you go back into the coordinator guide, you can go back to supporting your students. So this is everything to do with screening, screening your students, meeting the deadlines, paying tuition and fees, everything to help your students. I think we even put a list. Nope, I will have to remember to do that. So we do have a list of all the classes that are charged a textbook fee. I don't know if I've sent that out to everybody. And so I will make that available here as far as any textbook fees that are charged on all of our classes. So I've had a few people request that and I've sent it out, but I don't know if I've sent that out to everybody. So that's the guide. Things that you can do to support your instructors and helping them. Things that are required if you have to have a substitute or an instructor is out, those kind of things. Just minor things as far as instructors. And then your MyCE tutorials. So how to access MyCE, you're screening your students. So some of the things that you can do with MyCE is we've got video tutorials in there for those. Next up, we've got all of the resources that you might need. We've got links to the academic calendar for students that are taking classes on our campus, a list of all the common registration issues. Your coordinator checklist is up here. Just all the different things that you might have questions about can be found right here. And then we also have a list of all the forms. So the late registration form is on here. You've got the right of first refusal is on here. I'm not sure. Oh, just a link to being able to do the transcripts, transcript evaluation form. So all of the forms that you guys might need are right here. And then we also have some tutorials for the high school counselors using MyCE. Those are all right here. So you can refer your counselors to those if they have questions on how to use MyCE, or if you just want to, some training tools to help train your counselors using MyCE. And then also all of our webinars are here. So we haven't done any recent webinars, and but if we do a webinar, it'll be listed here. And then last but not least, we have the step-by-step instructions for all the students. So if you are having a student that's having a hard time filling out the application, or you're just trying to help them figure out how to get registered, but everybody's working so remotely lately that, sometimes it's hard to help them when they're over on the phone. So you can kind of go through these. A lot of these will have, this one's just a basic one, but the admissions application detailed will actually go through page by page what they're seeing when they do the application. And you can kind of walk them through it. Okay, this is what you do next. This is what you do next, and all of that. So those can come in really handy when you're working with a student remotely. So, does anybody have any questions about the website or suggestions or anything? Does anybody want more than one copy of the physical coordinator handbook? If you do, you can just email me and I will make sure you get that, the 2 or 3 that you need. But I will get those out as soon as possible. Some of the things that you need to remember if you are using the physical handbook is updates aren't going to be happening in your physical handbook unless you put them in there. So when we make updates, I will send out an email just so that you know that there's something in the handbook that has changed. As I mentioned before, there was some wording on the test scores and whatnot, and I will send you those changes so that you will have that information and you don't have the wrong information in your handbook. So I think that was it for the handbook and website. Brendan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if there's anybody that would prefer to just use the website and not get a handbook, I mean, that would be probably good to know as well. Then we don't print something that you're not going to use.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're happy to do either way. So if people like paper copies, then I mean, we can, like Becky said, we'll keep you updated on changes. But if a lot of you are like, yeah, I'll just use the website, then let us know, and then that'll give us a sense of how many we need to disseminate.
And then also let me know, give me some input on the website. If it's, I tried to make it a little bit easier to navigate and find the information you're looking for. But if you see something that, isn't working for you, let me know and I will try to make those changes. I think that's it. So we're done a little bit early, but again, it's Friday Eve. So, and most
were you going to talk about, did you talk about the concurrent on campus deadlines? See, that's on the agenda.
Oh, well, I didn't get a chance to print the agenda, so no, I did not.
Okay. And then you've got the project launch too.
Oh, you were going to talk about the project launch, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. So concurrent on campus deadlines. Concurrent on campus deadlines, you have to have the course request in by the course request deadline. So I'm going to just share my screen again really quick. Sorry. So if you go to any one of our SLCC pages, whether it be concurrent enrollment or anything, you'll have all these same tabs, and you're going to go to the current students and the academic calendar. There's also links to this in the guide that I just showed you, but That's usually the easiest way to find it, is that current students' academic calendar. So they are always going to have this concurrent on-campus course request deadline. It's always going to be 1 week before classes begin. The reason that we have this is because usually during this time is we're also trying to get all the kids registered at their high schools, and we just do not have time to keep doing the back and forth that happens when students are trying to register a week before classes start. Most of the classes are full by that time, and it is a nightmare to try to keep going back and forth with them. We highly suggest that the students start registering right when registration opens, and getting those requests in and getting registered, because if they wait until a week before classes start, they're really going to have a hard time finding classes, particularly now where everything is, we have so many online options. Those are filling up way faster than they ever have. So you'll have the concurrent on-campus course request deadline. And then after that, everything is, they follow all the same deadlines as a regular student. So the classes are going to begin the same time. The last day to add classes are still going to be here. And then last day to drop. So we cannot override on-campus classes. So if a student wants to register late, there is nothing we can do to get them registered. So they will need to make sure that they're getting done what they need to get done for on-campus. We really, I mean, we don't even schedule these classes. We don't really have any say-so over them. It's all the departments on how they are going. One thing we did change on this concurrent on-campus course request deadline is if a department decides to cancel a class that a student registered for after this deadline, then we will go ahead and switch the class that they have requested. So you can send in a course request after this deadline if a student is dropped from a class because it was canceled. So that is the biggest change on that, because we had departments canceling classes the day before classes started, and it was a big mess. They weren't letting students know, or there was an error with the system and it wasn't allowing the students to get the emails that they were sending. So we just want you guys to be aware that they can do that up until the day classes begin. After that, we cannot do changes. So they really need to be making sure that they're watching their schedules that last week, particularly to make sure that they aren't dropped from a class or a class doesn't get canceled. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Becky, if you don't mind, if we could just plug a little bit on the advising side, especially for you know, the younger ones, so not so much the seniors, but with fall registration starting early, they have that summer and students forget about life because school doesn't exist in the summer. But if maybe you could encourage your students also just to schedule an advising appointment early with us before school lets out, just to confirm what classes they're interested in doing in the fall. We can plan and be a bit proactive, so they're not running around while everyone gets back from summer. Things are already crazy. That would be great. And then just something else really quick, if we could plug. So in the past, high school recruitment has done separate concurrent enrollment information sessions for those who are interested in starting CE. We have combined those now, so they are monthly info sessions that we're hosting. I can go ahead and drop the link for you also. If you have students who just want to learn more about concurrent enrollment, it's their first time getting started, please refer them to this website. It's open for if you all want to attend as well. If there's parents or legal guardians, whomever that are supporting their student, if they want to attend to get more information, we would love to have them attend one of our monthly info sessions. That is all.
Okay, and then the project, Brandon.
Okay.
Turn it over to you.
Yeah, I can go ahead and talk about that. So many of you have heard about this. You were in some of the initial conversations about it, but for those who weren't there, basically to give you the backstory, I was out at out jogging one morning, listened to some of my geek books, which were like, marketing and business and personal development, history, all that kind of stuff, just nerd stuff that I was listening to. And this idea came to me that what if we were to sort of take this business approach to concurrent enrollment, where you get a product or a service, and a lot of businesses say, well, you know what, here, we're going to send you a free sample, give it a try, see if you like it. Or they'll say, you know what, go ahead and buy it. If you don't like it, like after 30 days, money back, no hard feelings. And that'll give customers sort of a chance to try out the product, see if they like it. And then if they do, you got a customer for life. So the idea came to me, it's like, well, what if we were to do something similar with concurrent enrollment? What if we were to maybe identify students who sort of like these customers in the corporate world who, they've never heard of your product or they have no interest in it. You give them a chance to try it just to see if they like it and see what happens. So what if we were to identify students who had either they had maybe limiting beliefs about themselves when it comes to college. Maybe they think, I'm never going to college because I'm too dumb. My parents never went to college, so I don't need to go to college. Or, I would like to go, but I'm just like, I'm a little uncomfortable with it. I'm not sure if I would be successful or not. So what if we were to identify those students and then give them the opportunity to take one concurrent enrollment class, their first class, one class where we waive the admission application, we waive registration, and if in the end they're not happy with their grade, we drop it before it ends up on their permanent college transcript. So there's no risk, no cost, and it gives them a chance to test it and see if their limiting beliefs are right or wrong. And hopefully what they find out, if we select them carefully, they'll find out that, wow, I was wrong. Like I thought I was dumb, but I was successful in this class. Or, I didn't think I was going to college, but I'm sitting with all these other students who are going to college. And I feel like I'm part of them now. I'm identifying in this culture and this role. And so now I'm going to go into college. Or maybe they take it and say, yeah, it's still not for me. And then we erase their record and they don't have to worry about it ever impacting them if, 5 years or 10 years down the road, they decide they're going to go to college. So that was the idea. I threw it out internally just to make sure we could potentially try this and see if it would work within what the current policy is. And all of the stakeholders here at the college decided to support it, reached out to 2 pilot schools that are going to test it out. That would be West High School and Granger High School. So over this next year, fall semester and spring semester coming up, we're going to give it a try. So we're taking 50 students at each of those schools, identifying students who have either no intention to go to college or they're very reluctant about going to college because of beliefs they may have about themselves, and seeing if we can curve that and help them to have this experience that sort of launches them, hence the name, into subsequent concurrent enrollment classes and on to college. So that's something we're going to be playing with over this next year. And if it's successful, then we would like to broadly expand it out there into the high schools. So, and we've got support all the way up to the executive cabinet level. So our vice presidents and president are very supportive and excited to see what happens with this. What we need to figure out is first of all, the students who participate, are they continuing on? Or are none of them? If none of them are, then there's no point in continuing the project. And can we handle it from a process perspective here at the college? If those 2 things happen, then it could become a long-term program. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up that we're sort of experimenting with that, and cross your fingers. Hopefully it will be something that takes root and turns into something really powerful out there, because I really think it could potentially make a huge difference for a lot of students out there in curbing those limiting beliefs that they have about themselves. So anyway, that's hopefully coming down the pipe, but we'll see after we get through the pilot. Okay, and I think that's it on project launch. Does anybody have any questions about that? I imagine most of you will probably just stand by and see how it goes. We'll keep everybody posted after we go through. We can send out some information, do a little sort of a debrief of it after we finish and let you know whether it worked or not, for those of you who are curious. Okay, that's all I got on Project Launch. Go ahead, Becky.
I think that's it. I think that's all we have. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. I really, really, you have no idea how much I appreciate that you guys do. Just the few students that we get in our office, I can't imagine having to try to organize that and get them all in the right place at the right times. And you guys do an amazing job at it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If anybody has any questions on anything, I'm here.
Thanks for all you guys do too.
Thank you. And again, thank you. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And happy Friday Eve, as Elena says. Or Salote, maybe that was Salote that said that.
Yeah, and I would reiterate too what Becky says. Thank you so much to all of you. We'll have this well, Becky's recorded it. We'll go ahead and get it posted. And for those of your colleagues who weren't able to watch it, we'll send that out to everybody. So yeah, thanks everyone. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.